All right, hello lab students, and welcome to your final lab lecture where we will be covering reproductive system anatomy. So we'll go over an overview here of both the female and male reproductive parts, the anatomy. Well, there's nobody here, so without further ado, I think we'll kick this off, and then I will post both to Canvas, and I'll send an email out to you all. All right. So, I think here, let's see. We're going to be using these images, at least, are from your Sherwood book that you're using. So this particular image here is from page 715. And what we see here, this is a scanning electron micrograph of a human sperm penetrating an egg. So this image taken in a fertility clinic actually shows one spermatozoon, that's a sperm, penetrating an ovum, that's singular for egg. And it uses enzymes on the head to gain access to that egg. The enzymes from those sperm, they're needed to break down the outer barrier before one of those sperm penetrates into the egg cytoplasm to give us fertilization. My wife was just telling me that there's actually new research that says that the eggs, they're not sure how it works, but are somehow actually selective for sperm that are carrying X or Y chromosome. So, area of research that is up and coming. As always, you can search for these slides within the Complete Anatomy app. You can use RF, the prefix RF for reproductive female, to search for the female, and then RM for reproductive male. There are both individual female and male quizzes. There's one female, one male that you can take as many times as you want, but then there is one practical covering both male and female that you, of course, can only be taken once. Okay? So the practice quizzes, male and female, independently, take as many as you want. One attempt for the collective male and female final exam. All right, so here this is an image from page 17 within your textbook showing the male reproductive organs. Okay? The reproductive organs, the gonads, are the testes in the male and the ovaries within the female. Okay, so the essential male reproductive functions are production of the sperm, which we call spermatogenesis, generation of the sperm, spermatogenesis, and then delivery of that sperm to the female. That's the male role. It's pretty limited. We'll see here, let me get my pen. I need something that's going to show up on here. Red will do, I guess. So the sperm is produced within the testes. We'll look at a closer image of that next. The testes are covered by something got messed up with my wording here, but the testes are covered with the scrotum, okay? And so shown right here, just that skin sac, the scrotum. And there's male accessory glands, and they provide the liquid vehicle that the sperm travels in. And that liquid allows us to effectively deliver the sperm into the female, into the vagina. And so these accessory sex glands within the males consist of the prostate gland. Okay, so of course this gets enlarged in older individuals. We were saying last week when we touched on some anatomy, the prostate gland helps submit that liquid. It consists most of the semen, and it's got more of a basic properties because the acidic environment of the vagina. So we have to neutralize that so the sperm can survive, reach the oviduct. What else do we have here? Beneath that, we have the bulbourethral gland. So right here, here's the prostate. We can look at them on this image here too. So we can see the prostate here, and then the bulbourethral gland beneath that. And then one of the others that's going to secrete some of those liquid secretions are going to be the seminal vesicles. So that is shown right here, seminal vesicle, and then we can see the seminal vesicles on this structure as well, the internal structures. So again, they provide the liquid consistency for the semen, so the sperm can be delivered in that manner. Then we have the penis. That's, of course, what deposits the semen. So we have the glans penis, and that's the tip. And this is what's very sensitive to arousal. So let's take a more in-depth look now at these testes. So the spermatozoa, the sperm for short, that is made within the testicles. And then they enter into the male reproductive tract. So we're making sperm in here, and then it enters within this tract here. Okay, the tract is made up of the epididymis. Oops, apologies. So this is our epididymis right here. I don't know what happened to my slides, something I deleted, but epididymis. And then we move into the vas deferens. So this long structure here. It's also called the ductus deferens, because it's a duct for transfer of that sperm. So in the vas deferens or ductus deferens. And then we move into the ejaculatory duct right here. Okay. So exit the testi into the epididymis, into the vas deferens, and then into the ejaculatory duct. So the sperm and the secretions from the accessory glands, they pass through these reproductive tubes and into the urethra, right? Hollow lumen of the penis here. And then we empty to the exterior upon ejaculation. Let's take a closer look at one of these testicles here. This is page 724 in your textbook. This is the anatomy of the testes, and we'll look at a little bit about spermatogenesis, generation of the spermatozoa. So we look up here, we can see that the testes are filled with these seminiferous tubules, right? So they're all convoluted and on top of each other within there. And if we take a cross section of, I should say that the seminiferous tubules, that's where we produce the sperm. Okay, so if we take a cross section of one of those, we notice a couple things. In the periphery of this tubule, so if we take one of these seminiferous tubules out here and look at a cross section, we see that within the periphery, we have the undifferentiated germ cells. So these haven't differentiated into the sperm yet. Okay, and then in the center, this is where we see the developed spermatozoa. So we have mature sperm here within the lumen of the seminiferous tubules. And if we zoom in, it's a little difficult to see, but we'll see the early cells here, and then we see the tails of those mature spermatozoa in the center of that lumen. And you can kind of see them a little bit here in this top image. Okay. I don't know if there's too much more I want to say about this. That's pretty clear. So let's move on to the female reproductive system. This is page 719 in your Sherwood text. And females, as we know, play more of a involved role in reproduction. So this includes production of the ova, or the eggs, which we call oogenesis, the reception of the sperm. Then we need transport of that fertilized ovum down into the uterus. And then we need maintenance of the fetus as it develops, including the wild placental growth, and then giving birth and then caring for that child, including things like breastfeeding. So what we see here is that an ovary, of course there's two gonads, the ovary releases one egg, an ovum typically. And this can be from either ovary. Sometimes they alternate. Often women have more of a dominant ovary. They'll supply more eggs. Remember that your women here are born with all those eggs when they are born. Okay? Men develop the sperm later upon puberty. So an egg, a single ovum, is going to be developed in the ovary, and it's going to pass into the oviduct. Previously, these were called the fallopian tubes, named after a man named, I can't remember, but obviously fallopian was part of that. But it seems odd to name female reproductive anatomy after a male, so we call it the oviduct. Okay. So the egg passes into the oviduct. Here it'll be fertilized. It'll meet the sperm and become fertilized, and then it'll move into the uterus for implantation. So the uterus is what maintains the fetus during development, and then it helps expel the baby at the end of pregnancy. Oops, I don't know why that keeps flipping. Now, the vagina here, the vagina connects the uterus to the external environment. It's a muscular tube, and these two are connected via the cervix. Okay. And the opening here we call, the opening in the cervix we call the cervical canal. We'll take a more in-depth look at this here. This is page 753. So the sperm here, we have the penis, are deposited in the vagina by the penis during intercourse. The sperm then enter this cervical canal to the site of fertilization, often up here within the oviduct. Okay. Then following the fertilization of the egg, we now have a zygote, and this moves back into the uterus for implantation, where that fetus will develop. Then we didn't really talk about the external anatomy here of the female. So the collective term for these external structures, right, would be the vulva, not the vagina. I know people like to refer to that as the vagina. The vagina is the canal here. Right, whoops, I'm sorry. I drew it to the uterus. Fine as that muscular canal. So if we look at this image here, we see that we have the perineum. Now the perineum is the external region, including the vaginal opening and the anus. Now the vaginal and the urethral openings, they're surrounded by two folds of skin. Okay. So we have the labia minora, the innermost folds, and then the outer, the labia majora. Okay. The vaginal opening often is partially covered by the hymen, and that's this thin mucous membrane. It's not shown very well in this image. And this can be disrupted often by a first sexual encounter. It could be something simple as inserting a tampon, horse riding, any vigorous exercise. Kind of the idea of the intact hymen is a very dated concept. So it can be broken at any time. Above the vaginal opening, we have the urethra for urine excretion. And then above that, we have the glans clitoris. This is the same embryonic tissue that becomes the penis. So it's similar tissue, and this is also what is sensitive to arousal within females, just like the glans penis. All right, and that is what I have for today. So very short lecture on male and female reproductive anatomy. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you all in the future. Take care.